Hello viewers, this is Mitul here. Module 8 Advanced Query Concepts that we have started learning, and now we will be understanding about the transactions. Okay, so now let us understand about the module number 8.2.4 transactions, in which we are trying to understand the phantom read. Why phantom read happens? Phantom read happens in the case when one transaction is reading twice. The same transaction is being read twice, and then meanwhile the transaction 1 is reading, the transaction 2 does the DML operation in between. Okay, so in that case this phantom read happens. How it happens, let us just understand. But before that, we want to understand two of the isolation levels: snapshot and then the serializable. What is snapshot? Snapshot is like creating a row versioning for the consistency sake. Okay, it creates the other version of the same records. By default it is turned off in the database or by the database for a particular user, and then for the Azure SQL managed instance, both of these thing, this option is by default turned off. Only it is turned on in the case is Azure SQL database only. Okay, now it can only be used when we are turning on this option. Allowed snapshot isolation option is turned on. Only and only in that case you can enable or use this snapshot isolation. Okay, it fixes all the concurrency issues if you use serializable, or you could use the snapshot isolation. Okay, level. And then the syntax is same: set transaction isolation label snapshot. Okay, then comes the last one, which is the serializable, which is applying the read and write lock completely onto the selected data with a where clause, which is called a range lock for a particular select statement with a where clause. Okay, to avoid the phantom reads, we can use this serializable, or we could use the snapshot. Okay, and by applying this the level of isolation level, right, it will remove all the concurrency issues. After which, if you apply this level of isolation level, after you apply this isolation level, you may not find any other concurrency issues. Okay, all right, so let's just see one example for that. First of all, we'll set the transaction isolation level as repeatable read. Now within that, we will open the transaction. Then within transaction, what we are doing here is we are just trying to get the count or sum for the sales, right? So basically we have a table here for the product sales. What we want to see is there is how many records are there. So currently in this table for the particular product, there are 5 records, and then there are 5 different sales for that, right? For a different dates there are sales for the same product. What was the count, how many times the product was sold during this period, and then how many and what was the sale for each day, right? If you want to check that, so then we can run this select statement. So, and after that we apply the wait for the delay for 10 seconds, and then again we run the same statement to check the after counts. Okay, and in between we will do some DML operation using the transaction number 2. So this is transaction number 2, in which we are declaring the isolation level as by default read committed, begin the transaction. Then we will apply the insert statement for the product sales table, and we are inserting only the product ID, sales date, and the sales amount, not the ID column. Why? Because it is an identity column. Okay, so we are inserting the product ID as 1, date as 2025 December 11, and then the sales amount as 16,000, and then close the, or say commit the transaction. All right, so now let us just execute both of them together. First we executed this one, and now we will execute this one, right? So it has performed before the first transaction is completed, meaning it has performed the insert operation, and then the second meaning like this one has executed. So see the difference here, the counts are different. Counts before we taken was 5, because number of records were 5, and then the total sales was 55,000. Whereas after the count, after the delay, the DML operation has been performed, so the sixth transaction has come, and which has caused the sale to increase it by 16,000 from 55 to 71. Because of that, the numbers are different, and that is what is called as phantom read. Okay, now to resolve this issue, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to revert this transaction so that we can come to the right numbers. For that purpose, I have written already, in the interest of the time, I'm just performing a delete operation so that I can reset it to the original state. Okay, now we can see here, coming back, that we have the right number of records, right? We have the 5 records as is earlier, right? And now we will run this entire thing with a serializable isolation level. Okay, we'll just change the isolation level, nothing else we are changing here, same thing only changed. Okay, and here we will select it up to transaction, and then we will run it, and then here we will run it again, and we'll see what happens here now. It is completed successfully, second transaction. Now we'll go and see the first transaction. Oh, here also it has completed successfully, and the numbers are same this time, right? 5,000 and 5, and then the 55,000. Count is 5, after counts are same, and the before counts are also same, right? Counts and sale both. So serializable has done its job perfectly fine. And now we wanted to check how many records actually are there into the table, right? Because this one says that yes, it did insert one more record to the table. How and what? Let us just see. So let's just run and see what is the result for that. So yeah, we see that the 6th record also has been added to the table. That's it for the session, and happy learning.